Welcome to my master bedroom recording studio. I know what you're thinking. He's definitely not married, but I am. My wife's just super cool. So anyway, I want to start a YouTube channel, kind of show off the quad cortex a little bit. I know a lot of people do that. They use it and tell you, yeah, it can do this and this and this. But there are some things that I've not found that it can do that people just aren't doing with it. Mainly because there's really no reason why they would do it with it, but I'm doing it so you can see how it is. So most people will take this thing, they'll put it into a high gain amp, they'll capture it, they'll show you, hey, look at great, it sounds exactly like it. Well, I've been searching for like this clean tone on it and I just couldn't find it. And I wound up buying a 65 deluxe reissue, a Fender amp, right? Well, I captured that amp and I just did it. So all the settings, the treble, the bass, all of that is set exactly how I captured it, the volume, everything. Mic is still in the same spot. So when I compare the two, it should be an exact capture. I do have a signal chain set up through both. So I'm using this thing as a pedal board as well. So my signal chain is an Ibanez Tube Screamer and a Quan, and those are captures somebody else has put on the Cortex app. I have that in both amps. So the settings are all the same. They're an exact copy of each other. Just one is going into the capture, one is going directly into the actual amp. And for the reverbs, I used a spring reverb on the quad cortex for both as well. So this way you're not getting the Fender amp spring reverb versus the quad cortex's spring reverb. Trying to run through what else I might have in the signal chain here. I have some delays, which I probably won't use. I will use the Tube Screamer and I will use the Quan on both of them, and I'll flip them back and forth so you can hear the difference on how this amp will take this as a pedal board as well as the capture. So anyway, without further ado, I'll get started and then just let me know what you guys think. So that was clean. That was as clean as it'll get. That was how I captured it. That is set at volume is around like 4.5 on the amp. So I think the comparison between the clean channels is a little bit, it's definitely different. The Fender amp has that like Fender spank to it. So it's got the, so that is kind of something the quad cortex can't really capture, if that makes sense. It compresses it just a little too much, I feel like. So you're losing a little bit of that dynamic feel of the amp. I know I sound like, you know, one of those crazy tube amp guys, but I'm really not. I really love this thing. I use it all the time. But it does have that little extra kick that's missing. It's close, but not quite there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the tube screamers, and I'll bounce between both of those with the tube screamer. I'll play just, you know, some of the same things, some stuff you've probably heard. So you can kind of get a feeling of, hey, what's the difference? And then I'll go over to the Klon as well. But what that is I'm using it as a boost to the Ibanez pedal, the tube screamer. So all I'll do is I'll just add that into the signal chain. And I think it does sound really good, actually, even through the capture and through the amp. It sounds fantastic. So anyway, get started with that. I'll flip-flop between the two, and then let me know what you guys think of that. So that was the Tube Screamer, and then I added in the Klon to it. You can kind of tell because it gets a little bit more oomph to it. That does sound really good on both. I will admit, if I were to play this in a mix with the capture, you probably wouldn't ever know that it was not an actual Fender amp. So is that what's important? Yes, but if you're sitting here playing through them, you can hear a difference, especially if you're playing through the power cab. The Fender amp just gives you a lot more of a dynamic feel, even still with the added distortion to it or gain, whatever you want to call it. It's still totally different. But can you get away with it? Absolutely. Could you get away with it in the front of a house somewhere? Yes, you could. It's just there's some people like myself, it's not the same for others as it is for people who just use this thing. Now, if I were to go out and play somewhere, would I lug that around? Probably not. I would probably just take this thing because it just sounds really good. If they don't have a PA, obviously, I'd bring the amp. But it's just, yeah, it does great. It does really great. I think for the last part of this video, I'll show you some delay and a Rev G4 pedal through the Fender amp. It's a capture as well. It's a little higher gain. I will use the Strat on it, so it's going to sound a little weird because it's not, it's kind of sort of set up for the Paul Reed Smith, but I'll just do it anyways, just so you can kind of get an idea of different pedals and how they would sound. Okay, so that was the Rev G4, some delay, some sloppy playing, but it kind of gives you, you know, it does pedals. It really does. It does really good. I have found that if you're going to run it into your front of your amp, the captures of pedals does work better than the pedals that are on the quad cortex. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm not that far into it, but it's just something that I've noticed and that I'm using through this amp. Now, if you're using like a Marshall or something like that, it would sound better. But this is just the results that I am getting. So I hope this has helped people and made them kind of go and watch my video and see the difference between a Fender Deluxe Reverb and clean tones on this. I will try and upload some more stuff on using this as a pedal board alone through like the Paul Reed Smith and the Aristides up there, just to kind of show you that it will do some high gain tones through the Fender amp, and it does sound really good. But like I said, if I were to do high gain tones, it would be going through the power cab or direct in, something like that. Would I buy this strictly as your pedal board? No, it's too expensive. You will never take full advantage of what all it can do if you were just to use it as a pedal board. So I would take the money from this and just buy an actual pedal board, put whatever pedals that you really want on it, be done. If that's what you are using, it's just a plain amp. But if you're buying this to use how I've been using it for 2 years, I would, yeah, absolutely. It is really good. And I'll upload my capture of the Fender Deluxe amp. And if you guys want, I'll even upload a preset. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed this, got something out of it, and hope to do some more of this for you guys. Thanks. Everybody have a good one.